Hi, this is Rick Tharp with RX Kinetics with another APK program demonstration. In this installment we're going to go over patient retrieval and how to perform serum level analysis. So let's begin here at our login screen. Again, we log in with our three initials, click Accept Disclaimer. Brings us to our main program screen and the Patient Data tab. On the data bar you can see there are several methods available for selecting a patient. You can browse through the patient database with the browse buttons, and since the patients are indexed by last name, clicking first brings you to the first patient alphabetically. Clicking last brings you to the last patient alphabetically. And browsing patients using those buttons is kind of a slow way to, it could be a slow way of finding a patient. Maybe an easier way is to click on the list function. That brings up an alphabetical list of patients. Even in this list you can use the seek last name function up here and type in the first 2 or 3 letters of the patient name to bring up that patient. Or you can click on there, or you can use the arrow, up and down arrow keys. When you have that patient you want, click close, and you'll see they're selected here. You could also use the seek function, so you click on the little binocular icon, type in the first 2 or 3 or 4 letters of the patient's last name, click OK, and it'll find that first match in the record. First matching record in the database. When you perform seek for the first time, the seek next button becomes active. If you click that, it'll find another match, and you click it again until it doesn't find any further matches. You see it becomes inactive. If that's the correct patient, you can look it over, see if anything's changed. In this case, let's assume he's dropped a few pounds and his serum creatinine has dropped. And you'll notice when you changed any of the fields that the status up here changed to editing patient. And you'll notice the save and cancel buttons became active. So let's click save to save that patient data. And now we're going to perform a serum level analysis. So let's click on the retrospective selection. That tab becomes active. And the first thing we need to do is select a drug model. Let's do that. We're going to dose vancomycin on this patient. You notice when you select the model, the targets are populated. And our analysis method is now the focus. So we need to select the method we're going to utilize. In this example, we're going to use the popular steady state peak and trough method, which at steady state you draw a trough before a dose, then you give the dose, then you draw a peak. So let's look at this patient. They got a gram over 60 minutes every 12 hours for 5 doses. The trough was a little low, peak was a little low. Pardon me, let me change that to 60. If that is, and you notice this is before the beginning of the infusion and after the end of the infusion, these times here. If we're satisfied, if the information we entered is correct, click Calculate. The first dialog you'll see is, do you wish to apply the Bayesian algorithm? I generally recommend that you first do the calculation without Bayesian. In this case, it's showing a half-life of 4.7 and volume distribution of 0.54 liters per kilo. let's kick in the Bayesian algorithm here. And shows probably a little bit better there on the numbers. 5.3 half-life, 0.66 liters per kilo on the volume distribution. Basically, what Bayesian does is it takes the information from your population model and the standard deviations of those parameters and compares it against the serum level data you have and the standard deviation of those lab tests. So the ideal dose that's recommended is 1602 every 10 hours. Let's enter a more practical dose of 1500 Q12. We can see a 60-minute peak of 26, or a trough of 7. That looks good. We can view a graph, and we'll notice that it begins at the trough level that we measured and shows the approach to steady state. If we want to print this graph on our consult form, we'll click Save. Let's just look at tools here. I wanted to show you the PK parameters dialog. If you have an MIC, you can calculate the peak to MIC ratio, the time above MIC, and the 24-hour area under curve over MIC. If you're satisfied with that recommended dose, you should print your consult. When you print the consult, this is the trigger to APK to let it know that you've reached a decision, and this saves your work. It saves a record of your work. It saves a record of your recommendations. So click the print icon. And we talked about this under the, we did a retrospective, we did a population model, but this is the print dialog. And you can change the consult header if you want. If you want it to say pharmacokinetic consult, you could do that. In our assessment, we're going to let them know that the trough level that we measured was below normal, the peak level was below normal, our half-life was a little bit below normal, and our volume of distribution was within normal limits. So basically, I was going to say, that half-life was within normal limits. So basically what we're showing here is that the patient was probably underdosed from the start. Again, here's some canned comments that you can have it print on the consult form. So let's click print, look at a print preview. Let's zoom in a little. We can look at our consult form here, showing our patient data, our measured data, our calculated data, our assessment, our dosage recommendations, and our serum level graph. And you'll notice when we go to view consults that consult we just did has been saved. Again, it was because we printed the consult. That was the trigger to save it. So there's an overview of the APK program, how to retrieve a patient, and how to perform serum level analysis.